industry guru and executive, is the founder of the Dynamic Sale, a learning, coaching, and development company. The Dynamic Sale enables individuals to shatter their performance expectations in the staffing and recruiting industry. Neil has done it all in the industry: permanent and temporary placement, sales, branch management, regional management, COO, and president. In this presentation, entitled Hypnosis, Prognosis, Neil dives into the real methods to close the deal by understanding the psychology of selling and human nature. He'll give insights into hypnotic selling concepts, including proven persuasion sales methods, how to use exclusivity, and the power of reciprocity. Enjoy the session.
Hi, Neil Leibovitz here from the dynamicsale.com, and I am so excited to share with you today some unbelievable closing tips. As a global executive and branch manager and president of a national company, I had the chance to train thousands of people and change their lives. This topic to me is really the best and the most fun topic because it gets right to the very essence of human nature, both the people that we're selling to and ours. Now, I love sales. I was really hooked since day one. Now, I am probably your typical salesperson. Not that I am so outgoing and so motivated and so focused, but that I hated cold calling. I couldn't stand that and all the junk that went along with it. I did not like picking up the phone, and I didn't like just spewing features and benefits. So I studied the masters, Hopkins and Robbins and you name it. I read every sales book that I could and tried to figure out how I can marry that with the staffing and the recruiting industry. Now, we all know that in recruitment, it really is a mixture of both art and science, and you really need to do both. So I stumbled across a topic, I think at the time was called hypnotic selling, and it really changed my life. Now, it gets into the concept that really selling is simply psychology. To get really good at sales, you've got to get good at understanding and working with human nature. Now, for me, it was kind of easy because both of my parents were psychologists. So I grew up with them analyzing everything and, talking about stuff, like you have in your relationships. But there are so many similarities between that and sales that it's uncanny. And the concept was, look, you could throw away a lot of your scripts if you just master these concepts. Tap into human nature, and you'll get what you want. Now, I'm sure many of you have heard about Dale Carnegie's, famous book and courses on how to win friends and influence people. I never knew anything about it other than when I finally ended up taking the course decades later, frankly. It was the same thing as hypnotic selling. The Dale Carnegie course was simply on how to influence other people, but it's all about influence, how to get people to like you, how to get people to do things. So you've heard this probably called many different things. Hypnotic selling, there's power persuasion, I've heard it called persuasion techniques, conversational hypnosis, mind control, that's a good one, winning friends and influencing people. All right, but they're all the same thing. In this session, I'm going to cover with you some of the most powerful persuasion methods on the planet. And not only am I going to give you these powerful persuasion methods, but we're going to talk about tips on how you can use them on your desk. I want each of you, when you go through this, to think about your own ways to apply each of these steps. But they are fun, and when you embrace these, you're really going to change your desk or your business forever. Now, those of you who know me will know that I am really a skeptic by nature. It's funny that I turned out to be a motivational speaker because I don't believe most of the stuff that I hear. I don't come to you as the most fit person in the world, obviously, and telling you how I woke up at 3 a.m. and I jogged 13 miles and why you're going to love me, because I don't connect with those people. I don't believe in hypnotists. Don't get me wrong, I do believe in those that could work with your mind to get you to stop smoking or whatever. And those are hypnotists in the true sense of the word that we're going to talk about. But I don't believe, in the little watch guy, and the red eyes and the spinning black and white circle, and you see people in their underwear in the audience. I don't buy it. But real hypnosis, the real masters of hypnosis, work on creating links in your brain, links that make you associate bad things with habits that you want to stop, good things that you want to do. It taps into human nature and your mind, and that stuff absolutely works. Like most of my material that I ever train on, none of this should really be shocking to you. In fact, I will bet that most of you use a lot or most of this stuff all of the time, but you just may not know it, or you haven't thought about it. Or if you're new, you've seen elements of these in your closing programs or your other training or your scripts. So I want you to now see why they work so well and why they're in there. In my training, I always love to strip back the core issue that we're training on and dive deeper into the underlying elements that make that work. So in this session, we're going to master this chicanery or this trickery. Now, and I use that word, very funnily, because there is no trickery to it. It's all ethical and legitimate, but we are tapping into the core of humanity. All right, how's that for an opening? I mean, it's a big, big thing to do, to tap into the core of humanity. But it's fun, and you're going to love it. So before I get into them, I want to just open with a concept that I call emotional selling. And you're going to see that permeate throughout all the different tips that I give you. And again, these key elements of persuasion. But any good salespeople, should know is that the key to selling is getting into people at an emotional level. You can't sell or convince based upon facts, which is what so many people do. You can't sell to get an order by just talking about the size of your agency and all your features and all of the benefits and all of these facts. That's great. You need all of that stuff. But the key behind any emotional sales course will tell you is that emotions are key to get people to buy or be persuaded or convinced. And then they use this logical element, they use the logic to justify this emotional purchase or convincing. And it is really done at a very subliminal level. Nobody admits that emotional selling works for them. Nobody does. But the reality is that you probably bought something recently for emotional reasons, and then you backed it up with logic. So you need to give people all the logical things in your close or your features or your benefits that are in your scripts, but deliver them and add emotional pulls. So people buy for emotion, and then they justify it with logic. An example that I would often give is one of the first things that I wanted to buy myself once I became a success in recruiting was a Movado museum watch. I mean, that's just something in college. To buy a $700 watch was lunacy. And I know there's much more expensive ones, but I'm dating myself, and that was big for me. Why did I want a Movado watch? Because it was black and beautiful? Yeah, perhaps. Because it had a sapphire crystal on it? Hey, yeah, that's nice. It won't scratch. Did I have a problem with my watches scratching in the past? No. Because it's so precise. It uses just great mechanisms that it only loses a second every year. Do I care about winding my watch for an extra second every 365 years, I guess, for a minute? No. So why did I want it? I wanted it because it stood for something. I didn't admit it, but it has prestige, and that's what all the Movado commercials were going for. And it would make me feel good about myself and make me feel like I made it and maybe set me apart from others, or it looks like I have style. All of the other points were reason for justifying it. Right, so if anyone asked me why I got it, I would probably give you, hey, I always wanted a nicer watch, and it's much better quality, and, the thing will never scratch, so I could have this for years. So that, yeah, I'm going to mention all those things, but that's not the reason why I bought it. Now, advertisers that have to convince people for a living and convince you quickly and convince you without talking to you have learned this. They use emotion all the time in absolutely anything that they ever do to try to convince you. And that's what you need to try to do. Again, it's funny stuff. I went to a great Tony Robbins live seminar many years ago, and Tony's, just an expert into this, and he gets that you really have to tap into this. And he would tell the stories of professional spokespeople. Right? Now think about that. You were to ask anyone whether they are buying something because it's endorsed by Tiger Woods or not, they'd laugh at you. You think you're going to sign up for a health insurance, plan or life insurance because Tiger Woods does? Heck no. I mean, I don't care. I'm not going to buy into that. But you know what? You do. En masse, they study that when Tiger Woods will pitch something, more people will buy it. Because they respect Tiger Woods, he's got credibility, and even though he's paid for it, there is something at an emotional level that makes you want to buy it. Nobody admits it because nobody does think it affects them. But why else would advertisers, spend millions and millions on all of these endorsements? And no, it's not just for the little kids, the 8-year-olds or the tweens or the young teenagers. It's not for that. That you have paid endorsements for every demographic and for you. And it does work, because if they can connect something that you have fun with, or something that you respect, or something that you admire, or something that you aspire to be, and they just connect that with the product, that emotional attachment will get you to view that product in a better light. And again, I know you won't admit it, but it's true. I mean, if you go way back when, one of the most famous was the Michael Jackson stories, because he was a bit out there, and he had this massive, first really mega multi-million-dollar Pepsi deal. And when they had him endorse and do all of his fun commercials showing him in concert and doing all these things, the sales went through the roof. And when they polled people, not one person said that Michael Jackson had anything to do with it. But if you like that energy and that excitement, and when he broke out at the time, there was nothing like that in the history of the world, and people associated that with the cola product. Isn't that hysterical? But it is core human nature, and it is something that you need to work at, constantly infusing emotion into everything that you do. Everything. Again, so people will make decisions and be influenced for emotional reasons, and then they'll back it up with logic. All right, I get into a lot of these in detail coming up, but it is why you want to find wounds in people, and why you want to talk about things that are at a very emotional level. You want to find anything you're ever trying to do and find a root emotion that deals with it. So you won't want to talk about, how a candidate is very efficient, and how he's always the first to get the job done, and is able to leave and go home before the others, even though he did twice the work that they did. That's great. That's a feature. That's a logical reason for a client to want to see or hire them. But the emotion is the time saving that they're going to give to this client. How they're going to be able to free them up so they can enjoy what they're doing, or not be stressed out, over having a staff that can't get things done for them. It's all the same, but you need to talk and sell and deal at a root level of emotion, and then throw in all of your logic. So anything you do from now on, after this video, when you're making a call, when you're making a close to a client, to a candidate, just pause and think of whether you indeed got the emotional root issue or issues, and whether you're throwing them out there. So remember that as we get into these key specific tips. All right, so let's get right into it, and let's talk about the very first one, and a phenomenal concept. And that's simply that people want what they can't have. People want what they can't have. It is unbelievably powerful. I myself was able to relate to this immediately. I learned this during my dating years, and many of you, have seen it. But I would have infatuation and do everything I can to go after the girl, and the less interest they showed in me, the more that I wanted them. Dating books talk about this all the time. When you're dating, you can't show your interest so much up front. You got to make it a bit of a challenge. You don't want to seem, so easy for them to be able to date you. Right? You got to make this a challenge. And that, they know, is because people want what's either difficult to get or what they can't have. All right, so back to my dating stories, I remember some people, I would just think about them all the time. I would want to date them. I couldn't wait till they broke up with their other boyfriend. And my God, won't life be wonderful when I finally date this person? And my little dreams and everything's exciting. And then I would go out on my date, or 2 dates later and 3 dates later. And, you know, for a lot of them, the game was over. I got what I was able to get. And the challenge is really important. And it still is for an awful lot of people. And it's not just like that for dating, it's for everything. So people want what other people are fighting over. It's just human nature. It's why you might see some people that hang out in a really popular clique, back to the dating things, and guys are lining up to date this person that if they weren't in that clique, or there weren't other guys fighting over this person, they might not be interested. But again, it's anything. Think of a product, anything that is high in demand. It is why once there's a rage with a certain product around Christmas time, that creates the great demand. So whether it goes back to, I think Cabbage Patch Kids were probably like the first really massive one people were fighting over. Once there weren't enough Cabbage Patch Kids to go around, once people knew that everyone else was buying them, once people knew that you would go to the toy store at the time and you wouldn't be able to get one and you'd actually have fist fights over this stuff, it just became nuts and everyone wanted them. Why does everyone want during Christmas that it toy? Because other people want it and other people are fighting over it. Now please, would you be honest with yourself? I remember maybe a decade ago was Tickle Me Elmo, then it's Pokemon, it's all these other things. Why did you want to get that for Christmas? Or why did you want to get that for your cousin? Or why did you want to give that to your kids? Do you think you're going to say, because everyone else wants it? Because everyone's fighting over it? Now, look, if you're a parent and that's what your kids want, the kids just want it because everyone's fighting over it and everyone wants it, so they want to be part of that. So of course you're going to want to make your kids happy. But it doesn't matter whether your kids didn't even ask for it, all right? They didn't even know it existed. You still went and got it because you knew that it could be really cool because other people want that and they're fighting over it. Right? It's a critical element to sales and into our business. Okay? A challenge is critical to create. Now, the perceived difficulty of this challenge and the perceived likelihood of success together dictate how strong this pull will be. Okay? Think about that for a second. The perceived difficulty, all right, so it has to be reachable or doable, but still a challenge, and so that you have a decent likelihood of success. That makes it really powerful. You have to put them both together. You've probably heard of a concept in advertising and internet marketing called scarcity. Right? Why is that used everywhere? If you look at internet marketing, any website, you look at most TV commercials, scarcity is when they let you know that there's a limited time. There's only going to be 2,000 Barack Obama commemorative plates left. I mean, do you really care if someone else owns one? But some people are, 2,000 plates left? I got to call right now and place my order. Or there's only 20 units left, or it's only going to be good for a week or for a month. People do it because the more scarce something is and the more scarcity that's perceived, the more of a challenge it is to get it and the more that the person wants it. So look, this is obvious about how this could benefit the recruiting industry. And quite frankly, you need to create this challenge and this competition all the time, wherever you can. Create competition, make yourself or the candidate more scarce, or the job opportunity more scarce. Create competition, make it more desirable. Make people know that people are fighting over this job, all right, the order, the opportunity, or they're fighting over this candidate. So let me give you some specific tips that can help you out. Let's talk about the client side first. Now, every time you present a candidate to a client or you're talking to them about a candidate, it should come with a story about how marketable they are. Right? How quickly they're going to be off the market. How you're really excited to tell them about this person because they're going to be gone in a week, in a matter of days, because they have the pick of the litter, because, boy, they're high in demand. Look, you've said and done all these things, probably not a lot, maybe not all of the time, but this is why this works. This is why this is critical. Another example would be to tell a client that, especially if you're just talking to them about a candidate, not quite presenting them yet, but hey, look, I'm not even sure, Mr. Client, if I could even get them to go on this interview. I do need to talk about them, but they've got so many different opportunities. The fact that you're in this part of town, or the fact that you're not quite as big as some of the others, might be an issue, but I'll only send them to you if they're into it, but I'm just warning you now. Okay? Again, if you're sending a resume for them to interview someone and then they call you up to say they want to see them, this isn't going to be the time to say you're not sure if you can get them to meet them. But you can let them know you weren't sure when you first called them about it, to be honest, because of, again, how scarce they are, or how much competition exists there. Okay, another way that you do it, and perhaps you've seen this in some of your approaches, is that you will actually instruct your client that they need to put themselves in selling mode to this candidate if they want to land them. So don't just put the client in interview mode where they're making the decision. Let them know that this isn't going to come so easy. All right, that this person has a lot of choices, or they will have a lot of choices, or they're going to have a lot of opportunity, or again, people are fighting over them. So look, Mr. Client, when this guy comes in here, let me share with you some of their hot buttons. Let me share with you some of the things I think that'll be a real reason why they're going to want to join your company. And again, put them in selling mode, have them take the notes so that they know that they have to really work on this person. That alone will help put your person in a better light. Will a client ever said, gee, the reason I hired Sally is because there was more competition with her and I had to sell to her? No, they won't. Just like you didn't admit that you're buying something because of Tiger Woods. But they will. All right, they will. So just make sure that you do that and try to get them in selling mode a lot. Certainly during the interview, during the second preps. Okay? And again, you could put your own things in here, but you want to tell your client maybe how other clients are drooling over this person, how you're giving them the first right to interview them before you release them to the rest of the team. Again, scarcity. This person's got a 1 hour, 2 days, 1 week shelf life till we open them up. Okay? Again, anything like that, you want to create that link, all right, with your candidate all the time as much as you can, okay? Now, what does this do? It does what I opened up with, is this plants crucial emotional seeds, all right? Seeds that you need to plant to harvest later. Any seeds that you plant now will sprout later. All right, so always, always, always use this all of the time, all right? Now, back to my other point with the candidate hot buttons, you could do that on the candidate side as well. So let's give some candidate-specific tips. Make sure anytime you present a job opportunity to a candidate that you let them know that any job is hard for them to get. Even if they're a shoo-in. Even if the client had 12 specs and this person has all 12, and if the candidate says no, you have no other candidates, you never want a candidate to feel that they're a perfect match or that they're a shoo-in. I would train people, and I would personally mention on just about every single matching call that, listen, candidate. Now, I'd actually mention their name. I wouldn't call them candidate. But not sure I can get you in on this. I'm not sure I could even get you an interview. All right? But here are the reasons. And give them a reason why maybe they might be missing. I don't know, your background, you have a few more jobs than they wanted, or they're really looking for someone with maybe some stronger communication skills, or whatever it is. Let them know this job is going to be hard for them. You need to do this from the get-go. From the first matching call, then you need to do it on your brief or your prep. Let them know they always have to fight and work hard for it. Let them know that plenty of your candidates or other candidates are dying for this opportunity. All right? Next, and similarly, never give too unbelievable glowing feedback to someone. It won't do you any good. Well, Neil, what if the feedback was glowing? You're now asking me to lie? Heck no. Heck no. But I don't want you to just make it that easy. It is just like dating. Never say, wow, man, they loved you. You kicked it, man. And unbelievable. Let me see if I can get you back in there. You can let them know that they really loved them. You can let them know they did really well. But give them something negative or some reason that you personally think might hold them back from getting it. Always find some concern that the client's going to have over them. Again, never ever lie, but don't just ask for the good feedback. So many recruiters just want to hear the good things that we don't ask for the hard things. I want you from now on to always try to find something that you could share with the candidate to bring them back down to earth. So why wasn't he or she 100% perfect? What are they missing? All right, what might be a concern that would take them from a 9.5 to a 10 then? I want you to find this and then you could share that with them. If the client says they're a 10, they're perfect, I love them, look, don't lie, then you tell them a reason why you think, they might not get it or why they're not perfect for it. Okay, so you could always give your own personal reasons and your personal thoughts about weaknesses. What are some other tips with the candidates? Again, always tell stories. Tell them and make this a habit till you get good at it. On the brief call, on the prep, on the debrief call, tell them stories about other candidates that are calling you up nonstop, upset that they're not able to go back for a second, or people that are dying to get in for this interview. Create the competition, right? So this was the first main point. You can see how you've used that, but you have to ask yourself whether you use this powerful approach all of the time and in all situations. And you just want to consciously be sowing the seed of competition and scarcity and people wanting the other person and putting people in the position to have to work hard to get it. It's also why, as an aside, if a client is just going to phone interview someone, bring them in for a 10-minute interview and hire them, you want to try not to do that. If my clients interviewed someone and I found out they were there for 10 minutes and then I get a job offer, believe it or not, I would not allow the offer to just go that fast. I would ask the client to do something else or allow me to do some other assessments. And again, it doesn't actually jeopardize the deal, just people are suspicious and don't love things that come that easily to them. Same for candidates, same for clients, and that is human nature. Okay? We move on to the next point, which is really phenomenally powerful as well. And this is something that you may or may not do or you haven't done consciously as part of a strategy. But the concept of reciprocity is basically that, hey, if I scratch your back, you'll scratch my back. That people want to give back when you give to them. So if I do you a favor, or if I do well by you, you're going to do well by me. Now, reciprocity doesn't mean that you need to write this all down, that it needs to be a contract. In fact, it's an emotional element again. You don't actually discuss it. But the concept of reciprocity will say, if I give to you and I give you something, you're going to feel obligated at an emotional root to give me something back. Here are some examples that just exist in the general world. Why do they give away free samples in grocery stores? Now, on the one hand, you're going to say, well, they want you to taste how terrific and unbelievable the product is. And that's absolutely true. But on the same note, they can mail you some of that stuff. A big element of the free samples is that once you take the sample, and by the way, notice the types of people, especially the good ones in marketing, notice the types of people that they hire to give you these free samples. So they give them to you, and there is some onus. It might not be that strong for you, but there is some onus, inner emotional tug for you to feel almost obligated, since I took a bite now, or I took a meatball, and they have these packages there. If I don't take one, they're going to look at me funny. I kind of feel obligated to buy a packet for home. And that doesn't work for everyone, but it absolutely works for some people, and that plays off on this concept of reciprocity. It's the same reason why do you think the veterans, or it could be the Hare Krishnas, or it could be anyone on the street that's trying to ask you for a donation, why do they give you the free flag or the cheap pen? Reciprocity. Because they gave you this free gift, even though they're asking you, please help, the veterans, please help this group. Here's your free gift, and by the way, can you help this group? You feel obligated to a degree. And again, that's why I stop. I'm not saying I don't give charity, but I will give, but I don't even take the free pen or the flag or whatever it is because I do feel obligated or hypnotized to give it to them. Here's another one. How on earth do these timeshare companies make money constantly giving away free vacations for you and another person to fly down to this luxurious area, airfare paid for and the accommodations paid for, and all you need to give them is a 2-hour presentation on one of the days where you sit through. Now, most of us take these free trips because they're free trips. Just about all of us go in there saying, I'm not going to buy anything. But why do they have pretty decent success selling these timeshares? They gave us a free vacation and trip. We feel obligated. We feel the sense of reciprocity. Now, I know many of you never bought a timeshare, but think about it, and I haven't. But think about that feeling inside when it's all over and they're going for the close and they're asking you to sign up or do this, and they've just taken 2 hours to present to you that you agreed to in order to get the free trip, and you're down here and you're tan and you're having fun and you have to tell them no. You all know that feeling, so I'm not saying that it always makes you buy something. I'm just saying it's a very, very, very powerful emotional tug, and that's what you want to do. Now, for my business as a professional trainer and speaker, I use the power of reciprocity. I tell that to all of them anyway in my first lesson. I'm not embarrassed, but my concept is I'm going to give a ton of great free value to people. And if people email me questions, I'm going to take time out, even though I'm not making money, to reply and help them out. Because once I do, there is going to be a subliminal emotional desire or urge to help pay me back. The more people that use my stuff or are successful with it, or the more people who constantly contact me for help are going to have even a greater onus to want to return the favor. So I give a lot of great stuff away at www.thedynamicsale.com. No, seriously, you can do that too as a recruiter. This is what they do all over the internet. The best marketers and salespeople are constantly giving away free valuable videos and valuable reports and tons of valuable products, tons of freebies or pro bono, all to get nothing in the short term. But it does go back to that you will get more than you give. It is better to give than to receive. Why? Because emotionally, this concept of reciprocity is unbelievable. So, what are some tips for you? Start giving and give a lot away for free. Okay? Offer to help out a candidate with a resume. Offer to help out a client with the interview structure, or maybe something in their department, or offer to help a client out with their resume or their background. Do a free assessment on the hiring process in a company. Just constantly provide your prospects or clients or candidates during the process great links to articles, etc. Now again, here's the funny thing. When you link all of this together, when you create these emotional ties to people, they're going to feel obligated to give something back. Believe it or not, your client will view your candidate in a different light if it came from someone that they like better and they have this need for. So are you doing that? Are you constantly, do you have an arsenal or a toolbox of free web links for candidates and for clients that you're going to constantly be dripping, to them so that you can help them out? It's why making sure that you prep or brief the dickens out of a client or a candidate is critical. A candidate, I always used to give a minimum 30-minute prep or brief, and sometimes it would take 45 minutes or an hour. And I would do this with every candidate. It would force me not just to have sendouts for the sake of sendouts and make sure I'm only putting my best people forward, and besides doing what a prep or a brief does well and helping you increase your odds of closing the deal, the value of what I would give the candidates was so high that it helped emotionally for them to want to either do something for me. Even if they didn't take the job, psychologically they want to more than they wouldn't. They'd want to refer people to me. They'd want to become a client for me once they were able to give job orders, etc. You can create what's called opt-in lists. That's what you see on all these websites when you go in, and they will give you a free report or something of value if you will opt in and sign up and give them your email address. If you have these lists, you could then send out, or with your current blasts, value-added newsletters, value-added videos, you name it. You need to be thinking about ways that you could provide value to people, and make sure that you take a break now and really line up all of the different value adds that you can give. That's, again, what I do in my free training. I'm not doing a commercial, but I'm telling you, I give away all of these weeks of ebooks and videos for reciprocity. And they're getting great stuff. Yes, they get to see me in action. They get to see what I'm all about. They get to be impressed. They get to decide, hey, you know, just like trying something in a supermarket. They get to actually taste my training. That's great. But there is also this element that he did all this stuff for me, and I haven't paid him a dime. You know what? And I like him. I'm going to pay this guy next time I have a need. And again, that works in any business and in any market, in any sector. So again, the point to this is it is a huge emotional pull. And just do right by people, all right, and they'll do right by you. And even if you don't have the time, Neil, I'm busy, now I'm going to do this free stuff, make the time. You need to do it, because your clients will be viewed in a different light from the candidates, and your candidates will view everything in a different light. All right? So how else can you make this work for you? Have your candidate give or do something for your client. Make the reciprocity work for them also. If you do it right, that's even more powerful. So ask them to find out something when they, as part of your brief, and when they go on the interview, something that the client's interested in, or a project that they're working on. Then during your debrief or your follow-up after the interview, ask your candidate about this and ask them to go out and find the link of a great article. It doesn't matter what it is. It will take 40 seconds of work. And just have them send it to them. Hey, I thought you might find this interesting. Another company went through this, or I thought this was pretty cool. Have them do something good, and again, make the reciprocity work. Same deal for your client, your candidate. They could do something for them. Hey, by the way, here's some people I knew, you were looking to do this. I thought that this might be helpful for you. Anything, especially if you find out that your candidate's still in the running, think about ways that you can create this reciprocity. All of this stuff takes seconds to do, and the power is unbelievable. The point is that anything works with this. Just give and be generous.